Clubhouse has taken the place as the staple map. Like, every team has to be able to play it if you want to be a tier 1 team at this level. It's also the map that I think most teams, when they're trialing a player, it's one of the maps they're going to trial someone on. So both these teams should be pretty comfortable here.
Well, without further ado, let's go ahead with our final elimination game of today.
Thank you very much, Veracity. Can't wait to jump into this one. Can OS pull off the upset, or will it be same old with Furia taking the win and continuing their run here at EWC 25?
You know what? I'm excited for this one because it's my first time ever casting Enterprise. Like, it is a free hit for them. It might go really badly. You know, there is a world where that could be the case. But let's rewind. Look at where they are. They've qualified to play here. Like, they upset a team, you know, one of the biggest orgs in the world in you know, Gen.G, who were down there, who everyone thought was going to build some form of a roster. But Enterprise proved that they are the real deal. But man, oh man, have they got unlucky with the draw. Like, I know every team here is a really good team.
Yeah.
But to be in this, you know, to be in an elimination match against Furia, they would have been thinking they could have been playing OXG here, not Furia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder if to any extent that may have interrupted preparation for this event. Speaking to Turd earlier from Weibo, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that much of an influence. And we're kind of in this modern era of Siege where a lot of the focus for most teams, and I think for Enterprise specifically, would have been on themselves as opposed to worrying too much about their opposition. They want to go in and just play good fundamental Siege. And that is what is going to get them across the line potentially in this matchup. Clubhouse is going to be a really good showcase of that. If they have their basics down pat, they can be competitive here. Clubhouse is not a map where you need to have extravagant strats. You need to throw up new stuff. If you keep it basic and do it well, you can get round wins.
And even if they do lose today, think about that experience that they're getting, the scrims that they're getting here that they're not going to be able to get back at home, the caliber of player. They're going to go back to OS a much better team, regardless of what happens here. We saw it happen in the past with Team Bliss inside of the Oceanic region. You know, obviously some of the older rosters, like, to me, teams that go to international events from a region like that go home so much better.
It generally just takes time, right? We have so much historical precedent of APAC as a whole, but specifically Bliss, Chiefs, Fnatic. It all took them multiple appearances overseas to have impact and to become, you know, common names at these particular events. So again, that's why we're setting the bar so low for them here. If they break expectations, win a map, win the series, I mean, God forbid, that would be insane. And I'm sure the Aussies back home, it's probably like 5 AM. They'll be staying awake for that for sure if they look competitive. But it's more so future looking for them. For Furia on the other side, though, it's very much a story of trying to retain form. Winning at Reload, bouncing back from Boston, that was a key storyline. Imagine an EWC win on top of that, and then heading into November, the rest of the main R6 circuit. That would, you know, probably return them to the kind of dangerous level we came to know them back in 2024, right? Where they were just pretty much impossible to beat.
Well, there was one point where you looked at them and says that they're guaranteed to win every single event.
Yeah.
Like, it was a calendar year of dominance from start to finish, and it even started before them. With obviously they lie, you know, the couple of core players of this roster, they were involved in that SI defeat to G2 a few years ago when they were playing under the W7M name. They brought in Philippe Box, who's been IGLing for the last couple of years. I spoke to Pengu about it, you know, kind of where does he rank in the, like, power rankings.
Wait, Pengu, the tier 2 player?
Yeah, Pengu, tier 2 Breach champ. Put some respect on his name, but he thinks that he's up there, right?
Yeah.
I was like, who do you think the best IGLs in the world were? And he says, obviously Fabian, for what he was able to do. He says, Lickyfac has put himself into that conversation, as has Canadian. But that man over there, he's in that list now too. And he can only get better because he's still relatively young in his career. He's calm. I want to see what they're able to do over the course of the event, because a win here really legitimizes them once more, because it was a little bit of a bad patch they had after they won that SI.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be the most remarkable thing if they're able to bounce back from that potentially. It looks like the game, though, is getting underway. The operator bands will flood through. And this could actually be a match of IGL capacity, honestly. It's a big talking point for Enterprise. It's 1 IGL, 4 gunners. And Fisher needs to be the one to be able to direct them into playmaking positions so that they can execute. And again, on Club, if they bring a clinical nature into this first map, who knows what's possible. They are starting out on attack, though, and so weakness will certainly be exposed.
And not only that, if you're Furia, this is probably the team that you have the hardest time prepping for, right?
Yeah, you're not watching us.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. It's like how many VODs are there available of them playing compared to every other team here? What have they performed like on LAN before? Like, it's really difficult because you don't know what to expect. And I think that's something that Enterprise really need to play into as well. You know, if you try to play cookie cutter Siege against Furia, they're just going to go right through you.
So Operator bans then a sole focus on Hard Breach, Bandit and Kaid off the board, and Thermite Ace respectively. So there'll be likely a lot of Mav play in this opening half. The side of choice though basement, and so that may limit it a little bit. I'm eager to see how aggressive Furia play across the map. As I kind of mentioned earlier, there isn't a ton of, you know, crazy depth compared to other maps on Club, but the biggest change is typically map expansion. You can get away with totaling on Club. It's one of the few maps even today where you can get away with it to some extent, but you can also go for full map roams. Castle in play suggesting that that's likely going to be the style for Furia, and as you can kind of see by their player positions currently, multiple players all around the map.
Yeah, and they're going to make it really hard for Enterprise to get any real control. Something that we've seen teams like FaZe do in the past in a setup like this is just go direct to site and try cut off all those defenders. But the first fight is going to kick off, and JV92 will take a little bit of damage.
Tuhan has made his way down main, so spotted that on the overhead to the side.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, the kind of playmaking that I want to see from EP. We saw it actually in their earlier game. The execution just wasn't quite there. But that's a good start. Player finds the first, traded back.
Yeah, Official Guy will fall, and Tuhan, he'll step back up those main stairs, not giving away his position just yet. He hasn't opened up the board, the barricade, and eventually he will now elect to do so. You have the ability, well, do you really have the ability to open up some of those hatches at this point? Because you've lost your Dokkaebi, so they got to go direct. Just look at it. You have no Dokkaebi, you have no hard breach, so this has to be a direct take, which means it's either main stairs, bottom blue.
I wonder if this is a case of Furia aren't particularly certain that they actually killed the Habana, considering they're still committing to the roam. I would have thought that they'd maybe look to peel. Because we'll see, EP could pivot direct, bot main, dirt, and then Furia could potentially be exposed. EP, they need to catch good timings, and Relays down bot main, one of those players looking for said pick. Bapid falls elsewhere though. EP have Diffuser in hand, but they don't have the ground. That being said, Duhan does fight back.
Yeah, and if you're Furia, you're going, right, no hatches have been opened yet. So you've got to start thinking about that. You can see the silhouette pushing towards bathroom. This is a big fight now for Tuhan as he's looking the wrong way. The gunfire lets him know he's in that 1v1. He'll start pushing down bottom main. He is being held. There's the swing from Nade. He'll get the double on the round. It's a 3v1. Make it a 3v-none. Furia win the round, but there were shoots of optimism if you're an Enterprise fan.
There was plenty of glimpses of optimism, to be honest, in their first performance. I was genuinely impressed by Enterprise. They didn't play a timid brand of Siege, which has probably set them apart from a lot of teams from OS who typically at their first LAN play completely in their shells and completely differently to locally where, they're dominant, they're confident, and they're landing shots. So, yeah, much the same. But again, it's just the difference in experience and execution. Like, Furia just a whole nother level. Enterprise need to play quite literally the best they have ever played as a team if they do stand any chance in this matchup. That is how lopsided this matchup really is.
Well, like we said, it's SI winners, multiple major winners, reload winners, a roster that's been together now for almost 2.5, 3 years up against a relatively new roster. Some of the players don't have LAN experience. So make the most of it. And if you're in that round, you got the opening pick. You got yourself in a situation where you were in a 3v3, but then, Tuhan off the back of not being able to win that fight, pushed down main and lost, and then it becomes a really difficult situation. But we're going to reposition ourselves. We're going up to the top floor. Clash is being brought in play. Obviously, no Azami, which is not the most common feature you'll see now whenever you play the site, because usually Azami, when free, isn't ever present.
Yeah, a little bit atypical. Despite that, they still bring the discs, and so JV92 just may play that bear. Which is a little bit more risky, but it does maybe free up the options elsewhere to be a little bit more dynamic as KZ finds the first. Relays on the Ash to fall. And that will limit some of the explosive potential for this attack. And we were praising Enterprise in the last round for the entry, and then unfortunately, Relays get slammed in the follow-up. So early pressure here on EP. Fortunately, they still have the map for hard breach, and they're getting to work on that currently.
Yeah, and you don't have to win every single entry engagement on a round like this. So we'll just slow down the tempo a little bit, get that breach open, and get your drone. Like, their drone economy is pretty good.
Yeah, I can't remember that being particularly poor for EP in their previous match. And they'll use that info now to scout out the objective. Two Hands found quite a bit on this one. That's been able to enter over towards that cash drone hole. Maybe a bit of info over towards top red. They'll know there's a hold likely on rafters as well. How do they look to break this down? It's a difficult position to find yourself in. Good teams, though, can problem solve this.
All about that next kill. Can Enterprise find something to give themselves? When a clash is going to peak, there's attempted reswing, but JV92 will make it a 4 versus 3 now. Trying to find a kill to work things back the other way as player will just step into sight, but JV92 will find another one, making it even more difficult for the side of Enterprise. They don't have the case. They don't really have any pressure on Raptors. The pistols, why? JV92 with a pistol and a triple on the round. Well, you know the saying, don't mess with a two-hand, but JV92 with a pistol. Is that a little bit mean with a revolve? A little bit.
Yeah, we saw some over-aggression there from Furia in that round, and despite saying on the pre-desk that I thought Furia would respect their opposition, that round may be a bit contrary to that point. They got themselves the early advantage, then they started really over-peaking, pistols in hand. Fairly confident they could win that. To be honest, I don't blame them, you know, right? Like, BPC still up, Clash still up. They had so many win cons to play around, and the clearance there from Enterprise, whilst it was okay, just wasn't quite good enough. From that position, you have to play absolutely perfect Siege, especially in clear rafters, and they just didn't quite have it in them.
You can't really push onto the bomb chassis behind the inside CC if you don't have rafters control. You're just asking for trouble at that point, but losing the opening pick really didn't help them in what their plan was going to be, because if you want to beat a team like Furia, everybody has to do their job to perfection. So you're looking at the lineup that they're going to bring. It might just change, but when you've got operators like a Maestro in play, you'd want to see maybe a 6th pick over to a Brava, but it doesn't look like Enterprise are going to do that. There's a Mira there as well. Another thing I think is worth pointing out, they don't really, other than the Twitch, they've got no direct counter to that Mira either.
Yeah, very good point. So Relays, whilst maybe struggling a little bit in the frag department, could have big impact in this round from a utility standpoint. And this, I mean, match taking a step back is really going to test the depth of these players on an individual level. How flexible can they be in terms of their ops and their specific roles, whether that be entry or util clearance, etc. They need to be dynamic in this game. Otherwise, Fury are going to have a read on them, and then that's only going to amplify the differential in skill. Diffuser in the hands of Fisher over towards Raft is currently on the Blackbeard, and he's able to burst through in towards CCTV.
Switch of his positioning here as well, as the Mira will swap over with the JV92 on Fenrir, but they're going to start clearing some ground. So this is a little bit better, but the problem is there's still presence inside of Cash. You know, I think they've fallen back from there at this point now, but you've used a minute of time. You've cleared a significant portion of the top floor as you look to take over towards Master Bedroom and Gym. And I think this is much better. They've not got a kill, but the pacing is looking good. They've got a little bit of map control. They've got drones that they can utilize to clear a lot of space, but they need to use those nades to clear, you know, things like the Maestro Cam. Those are things that Furia are going to be able to use to just stop any attempted plant.
Yeah, BPC as well in play, and Nitro. So late round for Enterprise, the utility will be critical to deal with at this point. Herds, though, able to find a kill. Bappen responds. So not bad from EP in this opening round, but still lacking some map control through Con. Clash has been able to reposition. Relay's probably next in line to contest that. Fisher probably eager to jump in for a waits plan at some point in time, but just needs to be patient. Bappen, I'm presuming, still has his belt of utility, and that will be really important for holding back this defense when the plan is to come into fruition.
Don't skip any steps. It's so important for Enterprise now. Fisho guy, if he goes for that plant, he's got to be careful because he's 1 HP, so that Maestro Cam, take him out. Yeah, Philippe Box tucked in the corner. There's a blind spot. KZ will get a kill with the Maestro Cam, and it's all down to Relays and Bappen as the final two, as well, Furia will go to show you. We will punish any little mistake you make. And, you know, let's be real, right? That round was won. Can you really blame Enterprise for not thinking of droning that corner by the door? Like, that's something that I think Furia took advantage of. They're like, you're not going to expect someone to be there, and you get the kill.
I mean, personally, I feel like I've probably casted 1,000 rounds of Clubhouse, and I can't think of too many where a player's tucked in that position. Now, it was facilitated by the fact that they're not opening Jacuzzi, of course. A player's not going, it's very unlikely to be there with perceived pressure from the breach, and so maybe just something EP will, you know, put in the back of the mind and learn for future, but it's already done now. Furia aren't going to play out that round in a similar fashion going forward, and they've already gained themselves now 3 rounds in a row. That will prompt a tactical timeout from EP. I like that call. It's a good opportunity to reset. You've now seen the setups from Furia, and you can formulate a plan going forward. Of course, the question mark will be, do we see a bar from Furia, maybe to just throw a spanner in the works? I mean, there's potential for that, but EP will at least, at minimum, have a retry on 2 of those objectives, so we can see if there's improvement.
Yeah, and with that, you'd assume that the timeout Furia are saying too as well, they're going to look to think about what we did and try fix it. But I want to go back to your point about like not opening Jacuzzi. A lot of the times people at home might say, oh, well, why are you opening it when you're not planning to push? Well, it's, as you said, perceived pressure. It's cutting off a rotate. If you want to go for that push, even if you don't push through there, you can't come down to office, you can't push up the main stairs if that breach is open without worrying about getting in a gunfight. So it's all about the element of pressure, and just by not having it open, you give Furia too much room to play with.
So the tactical timeout has concluded, and with that, we have an additional ban per side. Clash taken out by EP. It's been quite a powerful tool from Furia, especially on these map extensions and even late round. So an understandable decision there. And then, yeah, for Furia, they go triple hard breach. EP now solely reliant on the Maverick. And as expected, Furia to go basement first, where that Habana typically thrives.
Yeah, so it's going to slow everything down as well because of the time it takes to use Maverick and all those flashes, which takes a gun out of the fight for that period of time. It means that your teammates need to be even more alive to the threat of flanks because everything's just that little bit slower. And there's a limited amount, a finite amount of gas in that tank as well. So, well, if you want to open up the hatches, does that mean you're not able to open up dirt? Does that mean you'll get rid of another area of putting pressure inside the team? One good thing to do? Well, they've just brought lots of can openers because at the end of the day, it is hatches that you're trying to open. Here's the main thing. Yeah,
the Kaid is banned out, and so that should mean, at minimum, you get Moto, you get stock. Kitchen might be a bit up in the air depending on the util dump from the defense. Dirt as well should also be opened up. So it's not the end of the world.
No impacts from Furia either, so they can't really impact trick that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I didn't want to talk about can openers when we were doing that because I was like, no, I get caught out too often by calling these things early before the lineup's been set. But thematically, you've got a lot of opportunity to clear space in and around site. Fuse will be really effective in this scenario for just opening or getting rid of anybody that could be playing directly below that main hatch inside of Kitchen. You can create vert by main stairs, by player, so he'll be able to do that with the buck. Honestly, I like the setup that Enterprise are bringing here, but it's one thing liking the theme of it, it's another thing executing it.
Yeah, on paper, fine lineup. I think they've made the correct tactical decision. I don't think their decision-making fundamentally so far here at EWC has been all that poor. Again, it really just comes down to a lack of experience and the small mistakes in execution that get punished at an international land like this, unlike local Siege.
You just see, oh, there we go.
Okay, there we go.
We'll find one. He could have gotten 2. You know, he wasn't standing just far enough to spot the near angle, but that's an opening pick. That's Casey dealt with. That's the Warden dealt with. So, you know, even though you've only got 2 flashbangs in the back pocket, you've dealt with an incredibly effective player for Furia. Now you hold your flanks, minute and 20 seconds. Like, they've got so much time to work with.
Felipox in the meantime as well taken incredibly low, and if he continues to play that gem position and gets flushed out by Bappin on the Capital, which is kind of the typical play style, he could be finding himself very low here. Does get caught though by the catch. Jaeger now catching Capital bolts.
Yeah, and the thing about it is too, you could have used the stun grenades, but they might be seen as more essential for later on. Herds will get a very late trade indeed as player will now fall, but it's still full steam ahead for Enterprise. Fuse with the shield at the ready. AKs now is the position you need to clear. That's what you want to deal with if you want to get this plant down. And Fisho, with that case in his hands, it's an opportunity, but he needs support.
The hatch drop plan here is optimal. Both nitros have been used. Felipox is one shot. You drop turtle, plant on the B site. It should probably work out here, provided this crosses hull.
Yeah, if Two-Hand can hold this thing, and then you can get the... Yeah, this is what they need. So the case is going to go down. You're going to force the AK players to swing and eat...
Oh, no.
Where was the cover? Okay, Furia are going to take a 4-0 lead. Tuhan's going to scrap and brawl.
It's another example, though. Pretty good idea.
Yeah.
It is the right
theory's right.
win con. That is the exact play they should be going for. It's just, again, small little things in execution. Allowing that plant to be denied probably wouldn't happen in OS. But here on a LAN against one of the best teams in the world, they're capable of doing it.
Yeah, and it's kind of a theme that we saw, especially me and Jake when we were casting earlier, was teams doing a lot of good things at the start and the middle of the round, but that's not really what matters. It's what you do at the very end, and it's the scoreline that counts. In Furia, they've got a 4-0 lead here. Big important thing for Furia on a map like this is having lost earlier on today to OXG here in Clubhouse. Pretty decisive loss at that. They'll want to go and put a statement out in this map as well. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They just want to go, get the job done, and then the next map border is their pick.
So a 4-0 lead. And in most matchups, we'd still at this point be hesitant to say Furia will dominantly win. Enterprise could 2-4, and that's stock standard. That's the benchmark. However, considering the decisive nature in which this match has played out thus far, the minimal mistakes that Furia are making, the freedom that they've had inside of the server, and Enterprise just not quite being able to find that extra 5% required, I think at this point we can say with quite a bit of confidence, a high degree of confidence, Furia should be walking away with this one. So, I mean, it opens up the rest of the series then. Can we see Enterprise maybe bite back on border? It's a very different map dynamic.
Yep.
So there's still potential, but maybe if you're an OS fan back home staying up late,
well, look,
you might be going to bed a bit earlier.
And you know what? Enterprise are going to have family watching. They're going to have friends watching. Like, this is a big for them and an opportunity. Like, when are you ever going to get a chance to play Furia again as well? Like, it might never happen.
Maybe never, yeah.
So let's have fun with it. Looking at Furia though, JV92 obviously taking over the primary, you can say entry on attack, or the initiator, I suppose, on defense when it comes to getting in. He's 7-1.
Yeah.
Like, great stat line. Nade 4-0. One of the things that impresses me about Nade is his survivability. He's one of those players that they can rely on, right?
Yeah, I'll try and back that up with a stat.
Please tell me I'm not wrong.
39%, highest on the team. There you go.
Yeah,
you're cooking
right. Yeah. And that's just, that's just from watching them. I didn't actually look up the stat line for that, but it's something he's really good at.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want from your support, right?
Yeah.
7 plants in the last 13 maps as well. So, stacking some good numbers and playing well here this afternoon.
Thought for a second Nade was going to... Rayleigh gets another opening pick.
And that was on the flank as well, against the flank. That's a really big pick for EP. It feels like, again, the early to mid round has been rock solid, and honestly, late round, they're identifying the win condition. They're just not quite able to convert. But is this the opportunity to finally get around?
Oh, Bappen gets another. It's a 5v2. Enterprise on the brink of winning their first round here against Furia. And the thing is, as a player, once you win a round, you realize that if it bleeds, we can kill it. Red ping is coming through though for Nade. They're going to open up this construction wall. That'll force him to go back into cover, but Player will find a double on the round as Fisho will go to get the case down. Nade through the smoke will find one on the Player. No survivability this time though, as Tuhan will get Enterprise on the board.
Okay. Maybe the tale could come true. A 2-4 half now is in contention. It's in the realm of possibility.
And they've not done an awful lot wrong.
That's what's so frustrating watching this game. If this was any other opponent, I think Enterprise would have a decent shot. Maybe it's my bias. I'm not sure. I still think that they're playing pretty good Siege. Again, just outclassed by an opposition with longer tenure, more experience. We could rattle on all day about what the difference is. But that round win, Gibson, I mean, it keeps them in the conversation. A 2-4 half would be remarkable. It's a game of 2 halves, and EP on defense could hold firm potentially.
And the last time Furia played on attack on this map, they got 5-1. So,
and that was against an NA team.
Exactly. And look, I know that you're a little biased, but it's okay to get emotionally attached, right? It's your region, it's your home. I can get it, I can back it. And when it's a game like this against arguably the best team in the world, let play into it, right?
Every round it feels like a map win.
Yeah. So we're going to get into this next round, and they're going to double shield it for the final round. They didn't really use too many shields over the course of the rest of the game, so Do you think this is the right time to maybe catch Furia with it?
I think shield play in OS, generally speaking, not necessarily just Enterprise. It was a little underwhelming this stage, maybe a bit of an over-reliance on the Monty not actually being able to extract value.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see how this shapes up. Doubling down, you've got the Blackbeard as well, very on meta at the moment. Bappin had a bit of a rough start on his first match this afternoon, but then found a little bit of form towards the tail end. But here's a big responsibility in this round to get value from that particular operator. Fisho guy elsewhere, he'll be aiding and playing the front line on the map clear.
They do have 2 can openers as well, but you're allowing Philippox once more to play that position without opening up Jacuzzi Breach, which bit them in the back the last time around. They've only got 2 of them as well, so they've got to be really careful with where they elect to use them, so they didn't open up the wall on Cash. I think you have to open up this wall into construction to give you the long angle in towards Master Bedroom and Gym. I beg they use that last one over on Jacuzzi. I really hope they do.
If it wasn't for that play, Enterprise potentially could have actually won that round. It was another one that went begging. Another intriguing factor brought into the mix as well as the Deimos. As Army targeted, relays down below, Herds immediately under pressure, and Bappin maybe trying to catch a timing from the Balk, but unable to do so. Herds retreats deeper into the objective, and as Armor barrier for protection as we eclipse the midpoint of this particular round.
And that position is being played once more.
There's no way they don't clear it.
It's JV92 this time, so it's not Philippox, but Philippox is going to take a ton of damage as the Deimos from below is just going to pick players. Now, they do know who all 5 players are, so if they target the right one, you might force them out of that corridor and into the line of sight as they start now pushing in towards admin as well. But JV will find the kill on the Bappin, but it's a 4 versus 3 here at this point. The Maestro Cam feeding that information, but they're in another really good position here, Goz.
Player caught between a rock and a hard place, but able to survive, and the rest of the team now can get to work. Nade and KZ, the only 2 up for Furia. Fisho finds a kill, and now KZ needs to find 3. Caught in bathroom, finds 1, sprays him down, but now the shield in his face, taken down by Relays, a 2-4 half for EP.
That's what you wanted.
I ruled them out, but I take it back.
They got it. So they've done what you would say is the bare minimum on attack. They're smiling, they're having fun. Now they go to defense. But this is where I fear that Furia, they get a little bit dangerous now, because you've JV92 pushing in. He's your entry. KZ is going to be in the back pocket. Now, something I've seen some of the better teams do when they play against Furia is if they get a kill and the player that falls is JV92, they are straight up looking for, because they know that KZ is like right on his shoulder. They play for that. Even if you get the down, you're like straight up, where's that next player coming from?
Yeah.
Will Enterprise be able to do the same, or will they maybe fall into some habits that they have of you get that kill, you don't expect the second player to be right there on the shoulder?
Yeah, then the intensity and the tempo is going to be quite literally unlike nothing they've seen before outside of Fisher, who has this international experience. For the other 4 first appearance on lane internationally, you don't play against that style in OS typically. It's going to, oddly enough, feel more like a ranked game than it would a competitive game, just because of it's going to them, potentially feel like they're just randomly running around it. There's a lot more to it, of course, from Furia. It's very well calculated, and I'm intrigued to see how it translates into a second half, which should be entertaining. Enterprise giving themselves a chance, an opportunity, an outside shot on this first map by getting 2 in the first. I'm excited to see how that translates here across to the second. The brands are Ace, Habana, so double hard breach as anticipated, and the Kaid mirror to follow from Furia.
And it looks, so it is going to be basement. That's the site they're going to go to first. It looks like there is going to be a bit of a map roam here on the side of Enterprise. I have no issue with that at all, as long as they get their timings right. Like, once you get to a certain point on the clock, you either fall back, or you know, if you're playing in a position where you're expected to die, you try to find that fight and maybe make something happen from there. Barbed wire on blue, par for the course. They'll probably do the same here over by Pit. And I think that if Furia realize that there's a bit of a roam, sometimes they're really good at going direct.
Yeah, they'll just flip the switch within 20 seconds. They've got a whole new game plan reinstated, ready to go. That's why they continue to be so dangerous. They have the ability to flick that switch. And if Enterprise can't respond, they're going to have issues. But maybe that's the doomsday approach, the glass half empty approach. Enterprise have proven that they can play some decent siege. 2 rounds on attack on this map into Furia should not be understated for a team that has quite literally never played on LAN.
Yeah, and they've brought themselves can openers here too for Furia, as they will open up all of those hatches. No need for any real hard breach when you've got as many can openers as they have in the back pocket. They're going to clear some of those new features of the game, so some of those explosive pipes that you have here, just so that you don't get caught out by it in the late game. It's funny, I've seen a lot of defenders, sometimes in the prep phase, getting rid of some of them as well, because we don't have to do them, because the attackers can use these as well.
Yeah. There's definitely some common ones that are just taking our prep phase. There's others, though, that can have impacts throughout the round themselves. Furia have taken map control as we can close on the midpoint of the round. It's all going to come down to the execute. The final minute, maybe 45 seconds or so of this round as the hatches are open. And you look at the belt of utility available for Furia. Eyes on the Ying, eyes on the Grim, and being able to clear space, gain information, and find these entry jewels. Diffuser in the hands of Nade, and maybe pivoting for some kind of blue-centric hit?
Well, Church Wall's electrified, and there's no rotates, and there's no head holes. So you can't really go in there. Now, Bappin will find the opener for Enterprise, so they're doing pretty well on this game so far.
Do you go for the 5v3, though, or do you consolidate? That's the question Enterprise are being posed.
I think you got to consolidate in a site like this. You can see the JV92 is fishing, trying to tempt out a kill. They're going to smoke off blue to buy some space, but KZ just gets it and brings it back to a 4 versus 4. He's got the case in his back pocket. Now, Player's going to get an important fight, but JV92 wins it. Had Player won that, the round is a completely different thing. But we're back to a 3v3. 30 seconds to go. Hatch drop here will come through. Relays will get another one, and it really looks good for Enterprise now. Just JV92, 2 HP. Case is cold. 19 seconds to go. And they're all pushing from one spot now. Herds will step up. He's left the diffuser down in the ground. He's playing for the kill. The Azami is pro. Two-hand gets it and goes. Enterprise are 1 round behind.
My emotions are so mixed at the moment. I don't want to be given false hope.
It's the hope that kills you.
I know.
Hope that kills you.
I want to be excited, but I don't want to get too excited.
Well,
it was a clean round, though. It genuinely was, again, another example of them playing good siege.
And I think that Furia are a little surprised. Obviously, you'll say, oh, you don't take anybody for granted, but it's very hard when you see yourself as the pinnacle of the game, and you're in a game like this to go, well, Enterprise has no experience on LAN.
Who even are these guys? We should be smashing them. And now you're facing a game state where you're far from a secured win. And this is a very serious matchup in the sense that imagine being Furia, you win Reload, and then you get knocked out EWC day 1. You'd be the laughing stock of the esport.
Well, to be fair, from what I've heard, Falcons are mapped down on the other stream, and they're the reigning champions. They could be about to get knocked out, so...
It could be one of those events, man. It could be one of those events.
I beg. Well, our last LAN did have a bunch of surprise results.
That one also had a bit of a funky format, so...
We'll brush over that. We'll brush over that. Jumping into the action here, though, inside of round 8, you've got Enterprise on the defense. They brought the Azami. They've created a little bit of a maze. You've got Amaru with the shotgun in the hands of Herds. You've got the Philippe box with the Ying. It doesn't mean a rush, but it does mean that it is going to be shotgun on when they eventually do hit that go button.
Yeah, it's a pretty high risk, high reward composition from Furia. They're going to lay all the chips on the table and say, have at it. It's all about timing on this execution for them with the kind of tools that they have available. They don't have the biggest windows to go for this particular execute, depending on how they layer the utility. We open things up over towards Con to kick things off. And already it's shaping up to play very differently. EP went for Garage across. They didn't even open this wall.
Yep.
And so Furia already looking to at least have perceived pressure on this position. They may completely vacate it for the remaining 2 minutes. They may post someone out. They may go for the bathroom hit. They have options and avenues available, and that's why they're one of the better teams. They will open up these opportunities, and then they have the foresight. They have the experience to know which one is the most optimal to go for later in the round.
But as a defender, it's almost like the conundrum that an attacker has with a mirror window. Is there someone behind it or not?
Yeah.
Once that breach is open, you cannot make any assumptions. So you've got to clear it. You've got to, when you're walking past it. We might be about to see someone push, but we'll see the first bit of fire being thrown. But I'm looking, right? You've got a ton of information. You're holding the cross. The ace in the pack of Herds on the Amarus to play. Is this going to be like a gym match?
I think they're about to go hit main stairs. Nade's already charging forward, but taken down by Fisher guy. Herds is late to the party, so the window has not been great here from Furia. Despite that, they still have the advantage and they double down. 4v2, minute on the clock, and now it's all up to player.
There is a little bit of a team kill as KZ will take out Herds, his former partner in crime. But the round is won by Furia, but it's like you said, they opened up so many options, it stretched the defense so thin, and it's something that if you're VOD reviewing this afterwards for Enterprise, you're going to work on, and you've seen them in those. These aren't steps that they usually skip, but I just think the pressure of the occasion might be just forcing them to forget about some things, or...
I don't think that was, again, still even played that optimally by Furia. They dropped kit on the entry. Fisher gets the nice kill from Logi. Herds was late main with the Amaru hook. Like, there was so many pieces of the puzzle, at least, that we captured that weren't great. But then still, they were able to split the attack from other positions that were more successful and able to override any advantage that the defense was able to gain.
Are you going to reinforce this wall too, Han? Or are you just opening it up?
Surely the Mav counter, right?
Yeah, it has to be the Mav counter. Look, you're going to get tons of information. Two-hand will go for it. Player will likely play inside of rafters, which, if you don't know, is a coffin position. So for the viewers back home, it basically means that's your spot. You die there. I know coaches who actually get annoyed at their players if they play them in rafters and they don't die there, they go elsewhere. Like, your job is you're the captain, you go down with a ship in that position.
Well, we even see some teams over the last few months double down and play two there, one under the window and the second in the default position. Like, it continues to have small refinement, but EP will play the more traditional one-man setup with the Azami that's kind of anticipated. And in response, Furia bring the classic U2 lineup to counter at the Capital and the Grim. The Mav as well brought into the fray, and that will be used over towards default breach. Kennels will be opened up, no worries. Maybe stalled out a little bit after being shot open by Two-Harm, but otherwise I expect JV to be pretty proficient. Nitro Cell ripped by Fisher. This could have impact if it's able to pluck the hard breach.
I don't think it's big enough. I don't think the gap is wide enough to get that C4 out of. It looks really narrow on the side. Now on the bottoms, oh, DC.
Yep.
You spend too long lining that one up. You don't focus on what's happening below, and this is not a surprise spot from Herds. Usually whenever it's being open, someone is on rappel on that side of the breach. But in doing so, you've got rid of the bandit. Yeah, he got his utility down. But that's a C4 gone, and that's the only C4 that they had.
Yeah, that's the kind of mistake you wouldn't typically see from Fisher, guys. So he'll be disappointed in how that has played out. Now puts his team at a disadvantage, and it's 2 kills to the Rapal now. So the mistake's now creeping back in for EP.
Or the side of Furia, though, they're taking what they are given. KZ will find another kill, making it a 5 versus 2. The smoke canister, but again, from the breach, JV will find the kill on the Two-Hand, and Nade makes it flawless. Here's the thing, we could talk about maybe some mistakes, but a team like Furia will always take what you give them, and they take that round flawlessly, and they are on match point here, and it's a long way back for Enterprise.
Dunna, dun, dunna.
You're like, you don't want to, you're like, I just, you know, it is what I expected.
Seen it before. One more hard breach taken out. It is the Thermite Bandit for defense. Again, linking up with the Qaid in that regard. And that's why I didn't want to get too excited before. I still think the first half was pretty clean from EP to close out, and obviously they did a good job to get an additional round of defense, but the mistakes have crept back in a little bit. Furia have refined things a touch as well on attack, at least in that most recent round specifically. It was far more clinical than the 2 before it. And now with that platform they established back in the first half, they now have 3 map points, and all signs pointing towards a 1-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, and look at it this way. Enterprise, they've already avoided what is an embarrassment. They've not got 7-0'd.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
They've looked good.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be disappointed regardless of how it turns out from this point.
Exactly, and I think Furia are going into this game, they're going, okay, you know, these guys are doing some of the right things. They've taken 3 rounds. At this point, it's just bonus. Like, if Enterprise can get a round or 2, make this game even tighter, but for Furia, they just want to get this done with. They want to go to border, but you got to win the rounds to get there. Defensive lineup has been set. They're going to have relays on the, you know, the K1A with the Vigil. That's somebody you need to deal with. They almost deal with each other as both players take each other to in and around 50 HP. But Relays has been involved in almost everything when it comes to entries for the side of Enterprise.
Yeah, he's been super active inside of the server, as you are alluding to, especially through the early to mid round. Looking to disrupt the attack as much as possible, and that would have been a really massive pick. If you take the Capital off the board, the ability for him, especially with the fire, to exercise crowd control late round is a big difference maker.
Yeah, well, that Capital was for clearing a case when you're going for this kitchen hatch drop.
Kitchen extension, by the way,
yeah,
from EP.
You know what? If you're in your point, like, what are we expecting? Good use of the Kiba, drop back. Now you set up the Kiba barricades over by AK, or you go the other way. You could be wrong with that one, but you've still got the Capital firebolts. That's going to be really important to clear this position. What you'd expect to see Furia do now is open up dirt, which is what they've done. Push down. So if you've got kitchen hatch control, you've got dirt control, you're getting all of your pieces in a position now to execute. But I've seen a couple of blue silhouettes that are still active on the on a few floors above. Did I?
Yeah, still a few above, and the Monty now under pressure. Nade, Fisher guy, 1v1. Actually, it's a 1 versus 2, and they're desperately looking to drop that diffuser, and they do. But now, both trapped. Relays needs to be the one to aid his team and help them get back towards the objective.
2 members, all 3
they
members.
They locked themselves in. Okay, this is high risk.
Yeah, 2 versus 3. Philippox gets the kill, but you're inside of dirt. You're in a tunnel now as things stand. Furia, they're going to send it on a pre-fire towards the stick. The BP feeding tons of information, but you don't need the peek, and JV will get the kill on the Bappin. Fisho guy, 1 kill on the game so far. Needs 3 more in 50 seconds. He will dodge his way away from that first set of Candelas, but Philippox follows it up, and Furia will take the map. You know what? They gambled on themselves inside of dirt. It didn't work, but it was another round where they did a lot of good things in the early stages.
Yeah, respectable performance from EP. I think they can hold their head high after map 1. Border will play out in a very different fashion, so you never know what could take place on the second map of this series. On the side of Furia, probably maybe a little bit dismayed in how their execution shaped up in a couple of those rounds, but overall, they got it across the line in a rather dominant fashion, so they'll be feeling quite comfortable.
I think the fear for Enterprise going on to Border is it's a map that's going to test your mechanics a lot more than what Clubhouse is. Clubhouse is a map where you can rely on strats and structure, whereas on Border, your mechanics get really tested, and I think that's why Fury have picked that map, because they're not going to show anything for the later stage of the tournament there either, and they just feel they could maybe bully Enterprise on that map.
I mean, locally, EP, you back them in as being the gunners. Again, the storyline, 4 gunners plus Fish, who can tell them where to go, what to play, and when to do it. Furia, though, arguably some of the most mechanically gifted, plus strategically in-depth teams in the entire world. So it's a tough matchup going forward onto Border, but I wouldn't rule EP out. I think they can still show some signs of competitiveness.
Well, that's it. We just want them to be competitive.
Yeah, for sure.
We want a good game. You know, they've traveled all this way. They earned the right to be here. They beat some good competition in the region, and they've managed to attend this event. And if you're going to lose as well, if you're going to get knocked out, well, we got knocked out by Furia. You know, it's not something that it's something that I'd say a lot of teams in the past have said. So we'll see how that goes. We're looking at some of the good things, but we're going to jump to a quick break. When we come back, it will be Border, Enterprise versus Furia. Furia win, and Enterprise will go home. Furia lead Enterprise 1-0 in this best of 3 knockout game here at EWC. Does some positive signs for Enterprise on Clubhouse, but Border is going to be a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, in many respects, it's almost on the complete opposite of the spectrum in terms of how the map dynamic does play out. Is that going to be enough to produce a result for Enterprise? I think we're still clutching at straws. They showed promising signs back on the opening map of Club, but just not quite having the prowess to get a result across the line. Furia, as expected, one of the best to ever play the game, with a pretty convincing victory, I believe 7-3 in the end. Looking to close this one out in a 2-0 fashion and get some sleep.
Yeah, and I was watching what Enterprise were doing during that break, and I think Mingran had some special videos to show Bappin during that one.
Showing some strats, yeah.
Do you think, what do you think he's kind of saying to Bappin? Is if we're going, well, look, guys, you've proven you can take rounds off the guys. You're going to have to be more aggressive on a map like Border, but you know what? You saw the likes of Relays won a couple of entry frags. You saw some big plays from Tuhan at times. Like, they've shown they're able to do it. And as you said, in the Ost region, these are seen as the fraggers. These are seen as the guys who can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the region. They just got to go toe-to-toe with, arguably the best team in the world.
Yeah, again, very much like the mindset that I would have, at least heading into this series, would be just back yourself in. Like, nothing to lose. Show what you've got. Gain as much confidence as you can throughout the map and see how it translates inside of the server. Well, prep is done at this point. There's not much you can do in that regard. It's just about translating that into the server. And speaking of, the server is ready to go. Let's see what the op bans end up being. Is it double shield into Furia? Or something perhaps a little bit different. Ying taken down. Still some playtime back on the opening map. And a great operator for the likes of Furia who have really tight execute windows.
Yeah, you think about a lot of the sites that you can use those Candelas to execute to get the case down, to free up some space. You think about CCTV cache and how effective it can, you think about security, you think about how effective it could be there. Break room clears. I like this, right? If you see the 2 bans that have been done by Enterprise, you've got rid of the Candelas that Ying has, and you've got rid of the Grim, which is excellent for like clearing space as well. So you've gotten rid of one kind of execute operator, and you got rid of one operator who's great at clearing space. These are really good target bans for them if they want to be able to hide in certain positions and make themselves really difficult to clear.
So then, Border is ready. Let's jump into things. Again, Furia kicking off on attack. And they'll be the ones to set the tempo here on Border. Do we see aggressive direct hits? Do we see more of an emphasis on map clear? We're probably most likely going to see a bit of both in this opening half. Archives is a site where you can go for both styles. And in fact, I mean, even this operator lineup and composition indicative that we could see either style as well. So intrigued to see what gets brought. Enterprise perhaps anticipating direct with the Goyo in play, but again, they have versatile tools in play, like the traps from player, they can be used elsewhere, and even the F-Not mines as well to try and catch the lurk.
Double flank watch, though, does.
Yeah.
They've brought themselves Nomad and Gridlock, so, maybe they expect Enterprise to play hyper-aggressive on their own game, but it looks like they're not taking any risk with their flanks, at least in round 1.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily be anticipating a ton of mid-round aggression from the likes of EP, but could be the case. Again, they had the versatility, though. The likes of Furia could use it for aggressive late-round play. Couldn't even get that sentence out as Fisher finds the opener. That's not a sentence you say every day, Fish getting the first, but on a map like Border, again, it's such a different dynamic. Everybody has a role to play in map denial and entry denial.
Yeah, he's 1-0 in entry against Herds now, so there's always that.
Put that in the stat book.
If you want to look at it, but I feel like that was Furia going, let's just test them early. Let's see what the resolve is like. It's, it's a way of maybe trying a big play early on to see if Enterprise were sleeping. KZ, though, as he so often does, is going to find it, a trade as late as it is. Fleet Box with one of his own, as it's all down to player, Two-Hand and Bappin now. The stun grenades go out, Bappin will fall, his nade will burn him with the Capital Firebolts, and player will be the next one to drop. There's a knife, as KZ will have his will on it and leaves it all down to 2. And he finds one, but it's a long way back now, and he's being oppressed.
Minute 30 on the clock, but time not a factor. Furia stomping EP in the opening round.
Yeah, and you could see it. That was kind of the plan, was to hit them with ruthless aggression from the very start. They pushed in. They lost the opening one as Fisho got the kill, but it didn't slow them down in the slightest. They were like, as soon as KZ got that kill through break door, they just went full send, flash grenades, in they push, and they take the round win. So, Furia, as expected, take the opening round on their map pick, and it'll be another run at defense here for EP. Looks like they took that loss, and they've decided to change site. It'll be Vent's Workshop this time around, and with that lineup, is there anything, you look at player. He's brought himself, a little ability. Usually you see it to slow down breaches, so we're expecting him to play above inside, armory and try to keep that wall solid for as long as possible. Where do you see player in this round? Yeah, it looks like that's exactly where he's going to be. Yeah, most likely he will play for that hard breach denial above. I mean, the only other idea I could possibly think of is it's a stall-out tool for a front door rush, but that's a bit more niche. Yeah.
I doubt that would be the case.
You don't really think Enterprise are going to try to do that either?
No. Furia bring the IQ into play for the second round, potentially in response to the Valkyrie from Bappen. Given the vertical nature of this map, Valkyrie is incredibly powerful for nitro cells and just general info gathering, and so counteracting that will be quite important. Furia already with such quick map presence.
Yeah, you look where they are already, and they'll burn off that pipe. That gives them the opportunity. You know nobody's going to flank for a few seconds, and it means if you need to rotate a little later, that the defenders can't stop it. You've spotted out another one of those Val camps below. You spot out a defender who's on their phone inside a bathroom, and thankfully, the doors are broken, so you should get the audio cue. He comes off the camera, but you know exactly where that defender... Look, he's still on his cam. It's really important, yeah. That camera being shot out will let Fisho Guy know. Fisho Guy going to be the entry engagement again here.
Reloading.
Now looking to peel away from this particular position, or perhaps fortified a little bit longer. Some vert angles in play. As Furia look for more info across the map. Herds takes a touch of damage. That would be a big kill for EP if they're able to find it. Not quite.
Reload!
Very intriguing head-to-head here. Over towards Office and Fountain, but Bappen, his head taken clean off.
And there's nearly really nothing he can do about that either. Like, Herds just painted the wall with his brains. Two-hand will get one, realize with another one as things are fighting back, but Philippe Box with the backstab. Quick double for him, the IGL of Furia, and it's all down to Two-hand and Fisho Guy now in a 2 versus 3. Herds, of course, very low, worth pointing out. A goo mine would get him down, so it's something that worth keeping a note of. But Two-hand isn't really doing the best in the health department here either, and now he's got no help, and now he's gone because JB92 wins the round.
I don't think we're quite seeing the same glimpses of promise here on the second map like we did back on Club.
It's a different map. You know, it's everybody knows how to play Club. You can stall teams out. You can, you know, work angles in your favor. But I think when it comes to a map like this, your mechanics are going to get tested more than anything else. And, you know, name a team in the world that Furia haven't beaten.
Probably a team that they just haven't played. That would probably be the only ones on that.
I was waiting for you
point.
to like throw out the most random OS team name that have just never been to a LAN before, like Man LFO.
Well, yeah, haven't been Man LFO.
Jeff has never lost to never lost to Furia on LAN.
Yeah, that's technically true. So then, can Enterprise dig their heels in and find some resilience on their second map? Because so far, Furia wiping the floor. Even with the early round at times being a little bit up in the air, they're finding these trigger points in the round to go bang, and they'll respond, and they'll dominate. And Enterprise aren't able to crawl back into these rounds. Border naturally is the style of map where you see the snowball effect. That's what I like to call it, where the dominant team, once they find a pick or two, the round, I mean, you may as well just close your eyes and the round will be over in a couple of seconds. We're seeing that early on here in this matchup. And Enterprise need to find some kind of resistance. They need somebody who's going to step up and be the floodgate. Otherwise, this is going to spiral out of control.
Yeah, and 2 rounds on the attack for Furia. They're looking to make it a 3-player. Will find the opener on the 2. We're out using that ACOG to its finest. Might be about to get in another engagement. And he one-taps Herds. It's a double for a player on the round. He's going to reinforce off Fountain. He's like, I've done enough. I'm falling back to Fountain. I'm not giving up myself. And that's a good decision as well, right? You get your 2 kills. You fall back. A lot of the times you would see players, they get a kill, they get another, and all of a sudden the adrenaline takes control, and then they take a fight that they shouldn't take and they lose. But he's fallen back. That's actually really good restraint from player.
Surely Enterprise can now get a round on the board with a 2-player advantage. Sure, Furia have 2 minutes to work with, and their problem-solving skills are some of the best, but they don't have the manpower needed, and there's still quad nitro on the board, Gibson.
Yeah, 4 nitros and a Vulcan. There's one of them just on cue. Player with a triple on the round. Can he get an ace against Furia here on LAN? Tubarao with that DMR. Holding the angle, looking at the rest of the map, it does look like there's still a lot of external pressure coming in. The case is still hot in the hands of Nade, who's playing inside of Break Room now. Some information is being dealt with, but it's really important that You just stay close together. There's a quad. Give him the ace. No, he's going to fall at the hands of Nade. But this is a really good proof that any individual can win a round for a team if he makes the right decisions. And a 4K against Furia, like he's going, boys, I've done the round.
If I can do it, you boys need to follow.
Yeah, just close the round out. Oh no.
Nah, we're not quite in Ono territory just yet. One more kill and then I'll start getting concerned.
I'm looking to see where the cross is being held. So you've got a player on side of square. He's looking the long angle. You've got one player on site. Like, it's in a way a bit of a cross, but they could maybe play a little bit more aggressive. It's these two players, the bathroom and square, that you're hoping are going to work. Oh, Bappin.
Got a little bit sketch, but
you know what? He heard the nade being pulled. Like he knew it was the perfect time to swing. Oh,
shot. Yeah.
Still not as good as the one tap from player in break at the start of that round.
Yeah, he'll be feeling himself after that one. I had a look over my shoulder and he was, even after dying, had a pretty big smile painted on it. Can't really blame him, right? It's not every day of the week you get to say you get a 4K against Furia.
And he had the chance to get the ace.
Yeah, he almost did.
But the main thing is Enterprise win a round. Now, in the last map, you were saying you kind of wanted them to get that 4-2 half. If they want to get a 4-2 half on defense and take the lead against Furia for the first time, it's going to take a miracle. If I were Enterprise, I'd just be going for 3-3. You know, get your 3-3, win this next round. From there, you've got a chance. But it's another round one, and it means that they're not going to get 7-0'd, and it means that they've got something else that they can be happy about. This is the, we've had the next set of bans as well, and just for those at home, it was Valk, who's been used heavily by Enterprise, so it's no surprise to see that being removed by Furia. And then on the other side of things, Enterprise are going to get rid of the Twitch.
Yeah, that's probably to fortify the mirror, despite that it won't actually be picked for this particular round, but perhaps rounds 5 and 6 it will make a reappearance. We've seen a decent amount of mute play as well here from EP through the half. I think some of that in response to the potential Dame loss, although it's repicked off for this occasion. Probably also then acts as a counter onto the line by extension as well, and just drones naturally too. 4 of which were taken down in the prep phase as well.
Also got a prone player, by the way, holding an angle in from break room, and I always feel like security and break are such valuable. Oh, Tuhan, what are you doing up on top of the vending machine, by the way, as a couple of shots get sent that way. But to me, when you think of border, one of the most integral parts of the map, provided you're not going for that direct take, is security, is break room. And it does look like Enterprise are going to play into that with the clash. It means you can peek this long angle without necessarily taking any real risks. But for this to work, you need break room to be looked after.
Yeah, player holding that position currently, so should be rather chill. Fisho, another entry duel. Player to find the second for EP, and Furia is starting to look a little stalled out. This is strange. I don't quite know what I'm looking at.
Have they created that rotate so that Clash can float between security and sight?
Yeah,
go with the shield? Tuhan gets another kill. I think that, you know what? This is actually working.
And you can actually then place it down, right? And play off that actively if required. I mean, we're at the point now where the round's pretty much over, but EP cooking here on border, it would seem, and they are going to even out this scoreline to a piece, barring a remarkable clutch. Highly unlikely at this point.
We hope. We can say we want an underdog.
I think I can say that objectively. I don't think Furia are winning this round.
Well, it all depends on how aggressive that Enterprise are going to be. The right amount aggressive by the looks of it. You get that kill. There's just one shield left alive, and it's a flawless for Enterprise. So we had a 4K in the last round from player, and a flawless in the next. And you know what? It's 2-2.
Yeah, a bit of a nothing round from Furia. On the flip side, I don't want to take anything away from EP. They cooked with the Clash, for instance, and had some good ideas, and they locked down break as required, but Furia, I don't know, they just looked at that setup and looked a little bit dumbfounded, which is really, really strange for a team of their caliber. A round, though, that they can shrug off. They won't have to go back there for at least this first half, and that can be one they put in the back of the mind for the VOD review.
I'm looking over to the far side of the stage, and I'm seeing an interview So it looks like the Falcons game might not be, or might just be over now. Based on the person carrying out the interview, they might have lost. Can we get an update on what's going on in that other game?
Yeah, production's on it, mate. So
yeah.
Hopefully we'll get an answer in a moment's time, because I'm not quite sure how that has played out. Whoa. You can say
the
you can break the news.
the update is that SSG have knocked out Falcons from EWC, and that means we are going to have new champions regardless of what happens.
Wow. I mean, look, SSG, not to be underestimated, but I certainly didn't think that Falcons, at least in isolation, would have been taken out day one. That is insane.
I believe in call-out. I've said it. I believe in him as a coach, and he's got the job done. Long way to go, but Falcons, that's a disappointing one for them. Also disappointing for Enterprise is the fact that KZ will find the opener as player who's going 6-4 now will fall for that side. Much better statistically on average for Enterprise in the opening rounds of this game than maybe what we would have seen on Clubhouse. Player in particular having himself a nice game so far. Another Lion scan will go off, though that clears out a bit more space for the side. But there's 2 minutes, right? Furia have not really taken a massive amount of advantage of ground off that pick yet. So if I'm Enterprise, just stay calm. You know, maybe someone will overpeak and you can level those sides again.
Pace is kind of stalled out a little bit. Not necessarily a big negative for Furia at the moment, but it may give Enterprise a bit of an opportunity to try and reconsolidate position and look for a bit of info. Shoulder pick 90. That's Bappin, but he gets slammed from elsewhere. I believe that was KZ through the wall, at least finished off ultimately by Philippox. In the meantime, Fisher did trade, and so EP not trailing by a huge margin in this round, and in fact, no margin. 3-3, KZ falls, EP continuing to look competitive.
3 versus 3. As you said, Enterprise looking to take the lead for the very first time in this matchup against Furia. You got a nice angle being held by Fisho Guy. He's got multiple silhouettes pushing this way. Do they know? Well, they know now, because Fisho Guy will swing and get a double and will drop the hatch and fall back to sight. Numbers in the favor of Enterprise now, as Nade is down to about 50 HP. He's got to work with Herds if they want to get this round over the line. But for Enterprise, great bounce back having lost that opening pick.
Don't give me hope. Do not give me false hope. Tell you what, at the moment, it looks like that may actually come into fruition. Unless Furia can pick something on Vert, there's very much the possibility for that. Still 2 breach cards available here for Herds, but those opportunities not really presenting themselves currently. 30 seconds on the clock. Can EP hold on for the lead here on border?
A little dangerous dance being done here between Nade, but Fisho Guy will find a triple on the round. He's going to dip away into cover now. His 2-hand takes some damage, but it's all down to Herds. 12 seconds to go, no case in hand, and Enterprise, for the first time against Furia, will be winning on a map. They'll get the kill from Relays, and they've got their 3 rounds. They've guaranteed at a bare minimum a 3-3 on defense on border.
That's good. That's really good.
I can see the struggle. I can see you fighting with yourself to stop from letting the hope get to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a great read. I'm trying to put on my best poker face. Clearly not working at the moment. They've stepped it up. Last few rounds have been great, and Furia continue to just look like they're having these teething issues in these rounds, which is pretty unlike them. Especially against this caliber of opposition where they're very much far ahead in terms of rating. So let's see, though, if they can recompose for the final round of the half. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Furia electing not to take their attack timeout throughout that first half. So clearly not feeling the need to correct anything at the moment, and backing themselves into 3-3 the half and pocket it for later if required.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they got to trust that Philippox is able to say the right things in the server for them. You know, they'll still a chance at a 3-3 half. If you're 4-2 down on border, maybe it's a bit of a different story. But for Enterprise, it's, as you said, you don't want to get too much hope. They've still got a lot of work to do if they want to close this map out and maybe force a decider over on Bank. But I'm looking at the lineup on the other side of things. They're bringing themselves a Brava. Now you look at it, there's 3 BPs on the other side. There's a lot of default cams, so you can get a ton of value for KZ on Brava. And I have no real issue with that. And you can get the FNATs as well, which can free up space to allow you to enter the building a little bit later on as well without setting off those alarms.
Furia looking then for a bit of map control, path of least resistance. No extension over towards this security corner of the map. Herds elsewhere found the first, jumping in through archives, I believe it was. And so now there's pressure on this top floor. Couple of players though still above here for EP, eager to contest, probably not wanting to peel now that they're at disadvantage. Probably a little bit more inclined to try and find a kill back, and now they get caught. Fisho falls and Furia posturing for a 3-3 half.
Yeah, getting closer now in that 5 versus 2. Bappin and Relays will need to do a ton of work to pull this one back from the brink. Spray does a little bit of damage. Relays will find one on the JV92 and a double as he catches Nade, and well, suddenly there is a bit of a chance. Not a big one, but it's something, and just as you get a glimmer of hope, Philippe Box will close that door. It's a 3v1. Bappin with a pistol in his hands is going to fall, and Furia is secure. Well, I was going to say Furia is secure a 3-3 half, but I'd say more as Enterprise have got themselves a 3-3 half.
Yeah, especially considering how things begun on this particular map, with Furia looking rather dominant, EP able to not really just stabilize, but also genuinely look like the better team inside of the server for a select few rounds. Furia, they bring them back down to earth, equalize 3-3, and sets us up for an intriguing second half. The additional bans to come through. Kaid Blackbeard to begin. Probably likely to be followed up by double shields, and maybe a Monty, and then maybe mirror defense. We'll see what plays out.
Yeah, we don't have to wait too long. It is going to get revealed, and it's Clash and Blitz,
cool.
So that double shield that you expected. So I think teams, you get to ban the 2 operators that you want to. I think for Furia, they don't want to have to deal with the shields on a map like Border. They want to force it into a gunfight, but as you would expect, Enterprise on this map will still bring a Monte, at least in the early phases. They can change out of that depending on what happens. But the Furia lineup is set. They brought the Tachanka back into play. KZ will have the Mira. Philippe Box on the Azami. You'd expect that what they're going to do is try to set up a bit of a fortress inside of security and break. And then KZ will work with Mira to keep that main breach locked in and feed information to the players on CC on anybody pushing down long.
Do we see a direct here from EP? Is that what they're posturing for with these repicks? I think they might.
They catch them cold.
Yeah.
We saw Furia try to do something similar in their first round in attack.
And to be fair, you look at the Furia comp, it doesn't necessarily have some of the better direct counters for that play style. They only have 1 Nitro, they have no Goyo. It could be a pretty good read here from EP if they are to go for it. It doesn't necessarily have to be an early rush at the early portion of the round. They can set up for it and put the pieces in place. Early drone work and that Gatebird is suggesting to me that they could be on for this Archives hit.
It is the one of the really only counters they have, but that Tachanka Flame, it doesn't do too much damage.
They have Fish with Kit though, potentially posturing Sandwich, so it could be the fake from EP, which they actually had played against them previously, I think.
We'll keep an eye as the Glass will burn out that first initial bit of utility as the flames will go off. Bappin finds the opener, and now it might be go signal. They sprint on in. The sandwich repel should be done. Fisho, he's going to go down. JV92 gets the kill. It's a 3 versus 3. Hello, as the Glass will find one. Nade is down. It's only Philippe Box left standing, so even though the initial attempt at a rush was kind of botched for the plant, they're still in a great position to win this round.
Yeah, the follow-up from Relays was massive. Now looking to try and get the diffuser down, but doesn't commit initially to the plant. Player now to cover. It's critical that he doesn't die here and give Philippe Box a chance. He stays up, diffuser on the ground, and now Philippe Box needs to clutch.
Want to just use this charge to create himself a 1 versus 1 with the Glass, and he's gonna go prone. And Enterprise win their opening round on attack, and well, every single journey is done one step at a time. and they're back in the lead in this game on Border.
Yeah, I think they pretty much one-for-one stole the strat that got used against them earlier today with the fake sandwich plant. JV92, though, unaccounted for over towards main breach, got a double, but the follow-up from relays was clean, and the Glaz was able to stay up as well critically over towards Archive, so it didn't completely capitulate the attack, and EP able to maintain man advantage. Good way to kick things off, and again, much like has been the storyline for them, good ideas inside the server. On this occasion, though, slightly better execution and rewarded with the round win.
Yeah, and you know, we almost saw a genius play from Philippe Box as he created that 1-versus-1, but you just don't expect the player to be prone around the corner. So we turn our attention down to workshop and events. Lineup for the defenders, as always, has been set in place. And I'll say this, Furia are one of the teams that do tend to use, the new recruit a bit more often than some of the other sides. And you look at the utility that's bringing, obviously, the cam denial, so you can't see past, and a BP. He's got all of his utility essentially placed at this point, so from now on, Herds is just a gun on the server.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, well, there at least was when they first came out, a bit of debate surrounding the Sentry, especially on defense, maybe not being the most optimal pick in terms of utility, but it's not awful. And Herd's now given the freedom to run around and do as he sort of pleases. 3 obs blockers in play as well, and so that may actually be indicative of a particular play that they have in mind. Probably denying information down the longer corridors, if I had to guess, make the 90 flush a little bit more of a challenge, but all eyes over towards top east currently. Double Kiba in play, Lurk Passport from EP.
Yeah, I'm looking, the Flames will push him down, but Casey's going to fall at the hands of Relish, but does he know there's a second? Two-hand will find one, and Relish is going to get her a dodge. It's a 5v3, turned back to a 4 though. Another good pick from player though, as it's Enterprise taking a massive amount of advantage here on Border with just JV92 as the last player standing. The new entry suddenly finds himself the only player left up. Enterprise now, what they should be doing is droning, work out where he is, work out where he can get that plant, or the other option is to just force the kill, force the pick. Don't give JV92 any momentum. They now have the case in hand. This is a long-range angle with that SMG-12 Warden. Oh, that's genius. Remember what we said about how some of those bits of utility can be so effective for the defenders. And he's oh, I thought he got it.
Yeah, same. Okay. It's starting to get interesting.
Players having a game.
Second in Oath for the stage. Came in midway through, and he was firing from the get-go. First LAN against Furia, and he's translating it into the server. A 2-round lead for EP, and Furia now truly under at least some level of pressure.
Yeah, but we're still not allowing ourselves to get away with it. We're not going to allow ourselves to get too excited. But Enterprise, another game where they're just doing the right things, but this time they find themselves with a 2-round advantage. Your reigning Reload champions, your former world champions, your former multiple-time major champions. Yes, they're one map up in this best of 3, but Enterprise are showing a threat of the ability to make this level at 1 map apiece. But how many times in the past have we seen Fury in a position like this just to go on and break hearts? They did it they were in a worse position than this against FaZe in a game that you casted.
Yeah. SI Grand Final, we know that one turned out. It's never over until it's over. Of course, it goes without saying in any match, but Furia probably, of all the teams in the world, have the best ability to bounce back. EP need to respect that, and I'm sure they will. A 2-round lead, but far from over here on map 2. And we're not even on the decider map, of course. So there's potentially still a long way forward for them to find success in this series. Ursa in play though, as we head back over to Archives. Last time out, we saw the Ying fake sandwich. This time though, potentially posturing for Archives once more, but with a little bit more of a direct play facilitated by these Talon shields.
Yeah, those Talon shields, you usually see one placed in this corridor here. Then you go a little bit further forward and you try to get the plant off. Now you look at the defensive side, there are 2 C4s that can be used to deny the plant, so it's really important that Enterprise find a way to bleed those out early or get picks onto the players that have it in the back pocket. So Player will use Grim. He'll probably put the Bs on the other side of the table. Two-hand with the Ying shotgun, by the way. We'll get that opening pick. It's 4 versus 4. KZ's going to step outside and Player's going to shut him down. The case is going down and this is looking really good for Enterprise.
They've consolidated. They've gone for a simple and some may say basic play, but they have executed it well, and Furia not in a position to have impact. The retake attempt from them now will be very, very difficult. Nade though, SMG. Two-hand falls with the shotgun in hand. A 3 versus 3, 30 seconds on the fuse. Furia from this point onwards need to play clean. They need to land every shot. They have red pings. Talon Shield ineffective. Nade finds the kill. Now 19 seconds. Time continuing to tick. Keep a barrier in play. Can Enterprise withstand the pressure? Philippox on that counter defused. Can they find the kill? Bappin caught. Unable to take down that Kiba in time, and Furia just clutching the round.
And the Kiba barriers came in clutch in that retake. It allowed them to get up and kill the player behind the Talon Shield. Then they got the DBNO over on the outside. Oh, that was so close. But that's a great, you got to give credit to Furia. It's a really good retake.
They pocketed the util and played it correctly in the post. The Kiba there was absolutely huge. They found angles against the deep Talon Shield in Archives. They played that pretty much to perfection. Bappin will be reeling at that opportunity. I mean, even if he cleared the barrier in time, there was every world in which he would have died before shooting the counter defuse anyway, but such fine margins. If they had have won that round out, which arguably they probably should have with such good work to get the plant down in the first place, it would have been a 6-3 scoreline, 3 mat points, which would have been insane. But it's not the world we live in. They still have the lead though, 5-4 heading in to round 10.
If Enterprise win this round, they'll be thinking of what could have been, right? Yep. They really will. Like, they did that. I think that the execute was to perfection, but the post plant, just like the execute, was excellent on the side of Furia. So we will reload once more for Enterprise as they look to move on to map point. Furia looking to ensure we see every single round in regulation on the defense. Enterprise, how confident are you?
All 5 drones down in prep phase. Oh, actually, maybe it was the HUD bug. So it showed 5. I think it's now only 3. Okay, so not completely disastrous for EP. I still have the ability with a bit of freedom in the Monty and play to gain information through the mid-round.
This as well. Player is 11-5.
Yeah, he's played well.
He's having himself a bit of a map. Two hands having a good game. Relays is as well. On the opposite side of the coin, nobody from Furia's stat line is essentially standing out, but they're all having an impact on this game so far. 5 for the scoreline. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to work with as the first one of those toxic canisters will be used, and KZ, the trap was set and he was able to pick up that kill, and down goes the Monty.
Is this where it begins to crumble for EP? Perhaps not. Bappin, who's been a little bit quiet, able to respond. East clear, critical, and lands the shot. EP now in the driver's seat, but a trade. And that's the kind of pace and kind of intensity that Furia can bring inside of the server. Herds, JV92, they both respond, and now Relays and Player, who have been both playing very well, in fact probably the 2 standout players, need to clutch up.
And Player has got 2 scans in the pocket that can still be used at some point in this round. Drone economy, 4 left to work with. You've got 1 flashbang, a couple of smokes, so you're not necessarily fighting here with 1 hand tied behind your back. You've got the opportunity to flush out some kills and make it happen. However, if Furia find the next one, you got to think this round is done, and that's exactly what happens. Furia with another quick 2, and just like that, the sides are level, and we are guaranteed to see all 12 rounds.
So 5-5 scoreline. And a reality check for EP that Furia will never go down without a fight. Despite being under pressure, the scoreline certainly now not reflecting that. Furia with a good couple of rounds, clean siege across the board, and despite EP looking threatening after the back of the Bappin 2K in the prior round, the repositioning, the tempo, and the ability to maintain just the presence of mind to get back control back was really clean, really clinical from Furia, the kind of brand of siege that we have come to expect. As I mentioned, all 12 rounds now to be played out at minimum. I think for EP though, they have to close this one out in regulation. If it goes to the bitter end over in OT, it's so difficult to make a case that they'll find success.
Big one as well as one of these two teams will get the opportunity to win that in regulation. So if Enterprise win this round, they can go ahead and win it. Before we see OT, Furia will be hoping to do the exact same. 6 rounds, of course, will guarantee at the very minimum you will get to overtime. Official Guy is going to play the Monty again. They're going to bring the glass. So they're cooking something for the execute. They'll open up jail to give themselves the opportunity to go a little bit horizontal and make sure that nobody can play on this window, which, you know, you see some teams forget to clear every once in a while and it stops you from entering inside main. But the big one for me is if you can get some control above and you've got glass on the window, it opens up the opportunity for that plant to occur.
That's Herds up above on the vert, so making the jail push a little bit uncomfortable for attack, and that control won't necessarily be gained. Glass shots raining out elsewhere, and I believe that was KZ on the receiving end, now caught prone, although I don't think EP will be able to necessarily capitalize upon that. And in fact, given the window to now escape, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but the damage still dealt. Again, to me, they're posturing for another consolidated direct hit. Front door, smokes, stalled out initially, but will EP elect to now follow up? They've given the signal to Furia that this is the kind of play they may go for. It's not a fake.
AZ is low as well. Now, he will tuck himself inside the corner as there is a player on rappel on sandwich window as Philippox will look to cut off anybody pushing from that jail side. More utility is going to be dumped as Bappin will find the kill on the nade, who just extended a little bit. Monty's going to step in, but Furia making the numbers count. Big gunfight here, won by Philippox, putting it all down to Official Guy. Monty chasing down Philippox. He's got to rotate if he needs it. It's do or die, and Furia will be the side that will get the chance to win this in overtime. Or regulation. Sorry.
Regulation.
I got excited. I got ahead of myself. I haven't got the timeout.
Yeah. No, there's no better time than now for EP to call that tack. Staring down the barrel of defeat. And a ticket back to Oz.
Oh, well, they're guaranteed to take it back to Oz anyway. They didn't just come here and get abandoned. So, you know, there is that. It's just how quickly they go home.
Earlier than they would have liked.
I hope they stay. You know, even if they do go home, stay, take advantage of scrims. You know,
Hopefully.
The teams that do qualify through to the next round, they want to play, they want scrim partners, but they don't want to scrim against people who are here. So, you know, they'll want to scrim against teams that they can't face again. So it's another great opportunity for Enterprise if they do go out to continue to improve ahead of the next stage and maybe make their way into the major.
Well, it's not over just yet. Mingarang will look to rally the troops and push this game to OT. They've played some good siege. They've had some great moments throughout the entirety of this series, but none more so here on Border. Furia, though, have just been able to right the ship, steady course. Now on a one-way trip potentially to an additional round here in the lower bracket. I want to confirm who they are actually going to be seeded against for their upcoming game, because I'm sure that's set to be a banger. Hopefully it refreshes in a moment's time.
I think I heard
Is it
W7M.
Really? Okay.
I think that's what I heard.
The Brazilian shootout, maybe?
Yeah. That's what I think Xenox said a little bit earlier. But there is an old phrase that says overtime or bust, and that is the case now for Enterprise entering this 12th and potential final round here on Border and potential final round in the series. But Enterprise, you've got one shot to get into overtime. You said yourself you don't know what their chances are going to be like if we get there. Well, one thing is for sure, if they don't get there, it's done.
It will be W7M on the other side to greet the winner of this particular matchup, so would definitely recommend tuning in for that one. Furia W7M, that's a coin flip match.
So much as well with W7M and Furia's relationship with the rosters.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Furia not looking full strength. They look good, but in my opinion, don't quite look full strength yet. Potentially that could change tomorrow. But we're speaking in future tongue at the moment. Enterprise could still flip this. There's an opportunity. There's potential win conditions for them on offer. Relays to lurk over towards detention. Looking for some vert above. Herds is playing that particular pillar position in security. Bap and Elsa on the balk. has postured here previously. And it's looking like map control is name of the game to kick off this round for EP.
Yeah, oh, the Kiba barrier, he used that little bit of a second that you get to peer through it to try to get the pre-fire, and it almost worked. As you can see, those Grimbees that are being stopped by the mute jammer. A little more information held as the Brazil rotate will be used to flee, so no kill for relays to be found just yet. But a lot of vertical, well, inverse vertical control being established from below. Now, the first pick you gotta feel is critical. Bappen will now step into security. Brazil is still clear, but there is still a player on the door, and Bappen gets what could be a vital pick on the round. Another! And the third! Surely not. Surely not. Bappen with a finka will go down to one. Fisho guy gets another, and it looks like overtime at the very least is written in the stars. He's going to go deep. He'll go for the plant. Nade is low, and Bappen with a big round. It is flawless for Enterprise, and we're going to overtime.
Bappen is that kind of guy locally. It feels like, at least personally, I've been waiting all day for him to have that kind of moment here at LAN. And finally it comes at the perfect moment. He'll now be bolstered, boosted with confidence for the remainder of this OT. And Furia now back under the pump.
This is where things get interesting. So if you're just a first-time viewer of Siege, it is overtime. It is first to 8. There's no infinite OT. So Furia will get at least one round on defense. So will Enterprise. But the question is, will we go any further than that? A win here on Furia's map pick and a forcing of border, or forcing of bank, could be an exciting one for all those fans of us who have stayed up very late at night to watch this game. What time is it back home?
Yeah, it's about 5:30 a.m. back home. If you're on the East Coast, if you're down in Melbourne. So shout out to everyone back home if they are still tuning in. And every reason to be locked in. Map 1 was competitive. Map 2 has progressed to be even more so. And if there is to be a third, at this point, who knows which way it's going to go. I never thought we'd see EP look this good against Furia. I think many probably expecting this to be one of the more one-sided best of threes at the tournament, but it's been anything but since.
Yeah, and regardless of what way this overtime goes, they forced overtime on Furia's map pick. As you said, they were competitive on Clubhouse, with only a couple of late round decisions being what separated them from being in a very similar position to they find themselves in now. Player and Bappen both in the double digits. Two-Han, 7 and 7, as is Relays. Fisho guy as well is almost on a level par KD, as everybody from Enterprise have stepped it up here on border. But last time we were here, they lost Fisho guy very early in this position. They used the smoke and then they used KZ to try to get the kill, but this time they were ready for it.
Yeah, Fisho taking mental note of that last encounter and better equipped to soak up a bit of that utility on this particular occasion. EP now need to be mindful that they don't go into their shells. They need to continue to play to win. Do not play to lose. Especially on a map like Border, you need to continue to be active around the map and take opportunities as they present. The stall-out game, though, from Furia currently has been quite good, and the overpeak from KZ, very aggressive, still up close, in break, and he gets the kill.
Oh, Philippe Box with another one. Bappen will trade it back, but it's a 2v4 now, as Enterprise need to battle their way into this game. Bappen is going to go low, and the Furia will take their opening round of overtime on defense, and basically they've guaranteed that they've got 2 attempts now to win this game. Enterprise, I don't know what would be more heartbreaking, to lose it on overtime in a game like this, or have had it just, been that, 7-2, 7-3 game, because they are in this matchup and they just gotta hold strong on defense and then try to crack Fury on attack.
So the nail biter continues, and Furia will just build that tension for a little while longer. Tactical timeout procced, and an opportunity for them to fully flesh out what they want on this attack. The composition and what side they're expecting, how they're going to try and break that down. It still, though, offers an opportunity for Enterprise to have a chat themselves. What are the win cons for them? What particular objective do they want to play? Board is quite versatile in that regard. Do you try and make Bappin now the star player on defense? Do you want to enable him to pop off? He's clearly playing well currently. How does the rest of the team also respond as well?
Well, this is it, as you said. They've got to just get the... First off, they got to get the right site. Then they got to take the right composition. One thing is for sure, Furia called this timeout because they do not want to risk going to a full overtime match point here on game 2. So, they want to get it done right now. The defensive lineup is set. They're bringing the Clash. They're bringing the Mira. They're bringing the Goyo. Bappin, you said, do they rely on him? He's playing on Ela. Very reactive operator, right?
Yep.
It's once that Grismot mine goes off, you've got to play aggressive off the back of it.
Yeah, I wonder if he postures top east or if he plays Pillar Security. That's the two most likely options. I would anticipate top east is more likely of the two. And there's a great importance on that particular position. You can see him fortifying against Passport Lurk and anticipating for holding that particular position. Both the Mirror and the Clash as well in play for defense. So doubling down in terms of that info gathering / position fortifying utility.
Have they created that rotate that they made the first time around as well for Clash to push their way back in? They have.
Yeah.
So this is the strat. Clash is going to play inside of security. When it gets too hot, instead of having to go through Brazil, rotate or back around, and instead of trying to risk going to the door, you go the shortest route back to site, which is the full walk through rotate.
And we saw Relos on the last time. He was very eager to pop the shield down and hold the line here.
Yep.
So that's the versatility of Clash on display. You can play far more aggressive with her now.
And it's something that, you know, I personally hadn't seen yet, and I like it. I think that it's...
Yeah, O's definitely tapped into it, I feel like, maybe a little bit earlier than others, which is a rarity.
We had Clash jump outs in O's.
Yeah. I think it was Relays from memory too.
Yeah. Herds, though, will get the opening nail potentially in the coffin with that kill on the player,
okay.
but Bappin will trade it back. 4 versus 4 with the match and the series on the line for Enterprise. But 1 kill is not going to cut the mustard. They need a couple more here. And Bappin is aggressive, but JV92 will get the kill. And Furia find themselves with an advantage here on map point. JV will step in once more, and it's another. Herds will take down Tuhan. And it is all down to the Clash who falls. And Furia will progress. Enterprise will go home. But Furia